Statements, and I'm very pleased to go to Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I hope Senator Sterle stays here to listen to the speech because it's very important and involve people that Senator Sterle and I have worked with. Mr Acting Deputy President, I've always believed a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. And I'm sorry Senator Sterle is leaving because we've both worked together for the transport industry when truckies have been treated very unfairly. I've made him come back now. Treated very unfairly. Some just recently, Senator Sterle and I did joint media releases and joint media with when companies wanted to put truckies back to 90 days and even 120 days payments. But there's one problem we have now coming in. When the Road Safety Remuneration Tribunal was put through this place when Labor was in government, I didn't have a lot of bad things to say about it because I know, as a former pig farmer, Mr Acting Deputy President, how Woolworths treated me. I know what the big end of town does to the small Aussie battlers, as I call them. However, there's an order coming out that starts on April 4th called the Road Transport Remuneration Order. Now, as I said, a fair day's work, fair day's pay, it's important that people get paid properly. But there's some problems with this order that I think people simply have no idea. And let me explain to you, Mr Acting Deputy President. The order relates to owner-drivers. So if I have 3 trucks and I own them, I drive one, Senator Sterle drives the other, and believe it or not, Senator Dastiari drives the other. It's got a high seat in it. Then the order does not relate to the 2 trucks that Senator Sterle and Senator Dastiari drive that I own. It's only one I own. So here's the problem. A calculator on a computer will set the rate. Now, I'll give you an example, Mr Acting Deputy President. Imagine I had a 4-deck sheep crate, 2-deck cattle crate, the one stock crate you convert to cart sheep and cattle. And I was based at Broken Hill. If I was to cart a load of sheep down Adelaide, about 500 kilometres. The order relates to when you go 200 kilometres interstate or 500 kilometres within your state. So probably doesn't even relate in Tasmania because I don't think you go far enough in Tasmania to clock up the 500 kilometres. But I would charge about $5 a kilo, so I'd charge about $2,500 to go down to Adelaide and unload the sheep there, ready for export or whatever. Here's the problem. If my stock and station agent phoned me from Broken Hill and said, look, I've given you that job now, I want you to call into Collinsville Stud, a very famous merino stud at Mount Brian on your way home, and I want you to pick up 20 rams. Just a bit of a part load, to run a 10 to a pen on the bottom deck, 2 pens. Wouldn't have to check them, Mr Acting Deputy President. They couldn't get on top of each other, they couldn't suffocate, they couldn't get down, they could just squat down and go to sleep. Then I'd have to then go to the calculator and see what price I must charge from Mount Brian, near Burra, to Broken Hill, and it might say the minimum price is $1,500. So I must charge $1,500 to take those 20 rams back to Broken Hill. Now, when I got back there, the cocky I got him for to put out his station to join his ewes up, he would say, what in the hell are you doing? $1,500 to bring 20 rams. You're coming home empty. What are you doing? It gets worse. If I called into another stud and I put another 20 rams on, I'd have to charge another $1,500. So if I took 2 lots of rams back, just 20 to each mob, I'd have to charge $3,000. So I would not get the job. But if I sent Senator Sterle down in one of my trucks and he brought the rams back, I could charge $300 to bring the rams back, and I wouldn't have a problem because you're not covered under the order. If I sent Senator Dastiari down there, it could even be worse, but we won't go there. So here's a problem that owner-drivers, when they're backloading, are going to face. They have to pay a minimum rate. Now, I've got a stack of emails here, Mr Acting Deputy President, from owner-driver companies, that's just some of them, who are very, very concerned that if this is not delayed, there's going to be real trouble. And I commend Minister Cash, and I'm glad she's in the chamber, because yesterday she supported a motion by the Road Safety Remuneration Tribunal to delay this till the 1st January next year, so they get the bumps out of this, that we don't have a situation where owner-drivers are actually going to go broke and have their rigs repossessed, etc. Because being paid fairly is a good thing. As I said, a fair day's work, fair day's pay, but ramifications that send owner-drivers broke are concerning. I got an email here, I won't give the person's name. To whom it may concern, I am an Indigenous Australian living in rural New South Wales trying to make a living transporting grain during harvest season and moving grain and fertiliser during off-season. As it is very difficult for Indigenous Australians to obtain work and operate their own business to build a future, this order would be another nail in the coffin for us working in the transport industry. The financial effect on rural communities will be massive. Example, fuel depots, tyre and mechanical garages, auto electricians, local shops like bakers, safety clothes and equipment shops, the list goes on. I would hate to think that what will happen to battling own operators and their families if this law comes in after the 4th of April, what would be their financial ability to put food on the table. There will be a large number of people in a very dark place mentally, and it will be catastrophic for small towns in rural Australia. I really think that the people who make these decisions have no knowledge of rural Australia, as it affects 35,000 plus own operators who will be put out of work. I hope this road safety remuneration order can be reviewed with the owner operators having some say in their future. A very good point. That is just one. So the concern is that this order has now been put in place. The tribunal sits way away from this place at arm's length. Whatever decisions it makes is binding. But I think they have not considered the ramifications. I had a bloke in my office yesterday, Mr Acting Deputy President, he has a B double. He carts grain from just over the border in New South Wales down to Melbourne. He gets a good rate. When he comes back, he brings fertiliser back. Discount rate, he's coming home empty to get more grain. He now has to charge an enormous amount of money to come home. However, if he lived on the other side of the border 10 kilometres away, in Victoria, the order would not apply to him because it's within the state and less than 500 kilometres. So he's now competing against someone just over the border who can actually do the business a lot cheaper. This is very concerning, and people are, I'm with Senator Sterle on many occasions where when people are not making money, or not being paid and being dragged out to 90 or 120 days, the first thing they neglect is the condition of their vehicle. Oh, that tyre's getting worn on the steering, well, we'll do another trip. The brake lining's getting down, no, keep them going, we can't afford to replace them. This is a real issue and a very important issue. But I do encourage people to get online and support the draft order that's been put in place yesterday, that this be deferred to the 1st of January next year till the gremlins are ironed out of this in relation to owner-drivers. I think the interstate issue, the 200 kilometres interstate, the backloading is a big issue. I had one truckie ring me, he has a prime mover. He runs from Melbourne to Brisbane, he gets $3,000 for dragging the trailers of a big company. He's happy. He gets $1,000 come home with a part load. He'll now have to get the company will have to pay him $2,000 to go home from Brisbane to Melbourne, and the company said they're not going to do that. They can't just throw away $1,000 because their contract will not have that much gap in it. So he is very annoyed that he'll now lose his work. He was happy with the deal. Another contractor is going from Adelaide to Brisbane, then back to Perth. But when and good rates all the way until he comes to get running from Perth to Adelaide going home, he charges $2,500 for a part load or a load. But the order says he's got to charge $6,500. No one will pay $6,500 for a returning truck to go from Perth to Adelaide. He will lose that job. He said that'll be a big hole in his cash flow. Hence he'll face financial difficulties. But of course the financial difficulties, this person, this Indigenous Australian, makes a good point. When you have every country town has a truckie, a stock truck. Where do they buy their tyres? Off the local dealer. Where do they buy the fuel? Off the local dealer. Where do they get their electrical work done? Of the auto electrician. Where do they get the service done, their repairs? The local mechanic. These are vital jobs and businesses in every country town, big or small. And we don't want to see these people put out of work. There's got to be a time delay on this. I think that is absolutely essential. And I call on owner drivers, if you're out there listening now in your rigs, please do a submission to inquiries at rsrt.gov.au. Tell them your situation, tell them you're facing, you may be losing your contracts on the 5th of April. Some of these contracts are multi-million-dollar contracts and they need time to be worked through it and so on. So I do hope this support is shown, widespread support, to delay this order until 1st of January so these gremlins can be sorted out so our owner drivers are not forced to go broke. And if they disregard the law and disrespect it and just say, look, I'll bring those sheep home, for example, back from Adelaide to Broken Hill for $300, they face a $54,000 fine. Well, that would be enough to put any sole operator, owner-driver down the tube if he gets a bill for $54,000 in breach. And even people are not aware of it. It came in December, it was announced, Many people I've spoken to were not aware of it a few weeks ago. Of course, now it's been out in the media and people are becoming aware of it. So I do hope that people pull together to sort this out properly.
Thank you, Senator Williams.